Hello and welcome to Chips and Salsa. I'm your host, Cheryl Rosado, and my usual co-host, George, is not here today, but he will be back as soon as possible with our next show. And today we have a very special guest, Kelly Cooper. And before we can jump into talking to Kelly and why he's here, I want to say a special thank you to our sponsors. Today, our sponsors are Canaloo Air. They do air conditioning and plumbing, National Automotive Repair, that is our very honest mechanic, AZ Injection Perfection, body contouring and lash extensions, One Team, One Dream Foundation, and elected leadership for SRP.com, which is why Kelly is here. So that's
Excellent.
Pretty great. Thank you for sponsoring our show.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being on the show.
Of course.
Because you're running for SRP at large.
Yes.
Is it called like SRP board or SRP council?
So it's the board.
It's the board. Okay.
There are council elections going on at the same time, but the SRP board right now is also going on, and there's the two leadership positions, the two at-large positions that are up for election right now.
Okay, how many total positions are there?
So 14.
Okay, so that's like all the different areas then, and the at-larges?
For the board, yes.
For the board, okay.
The councils are all set up different, so they'll have a different group for the election.
So is the council the one that has numbers and certain ones are up for election?
So that's a great question. The board, the leadership of the board, so the president, vice president, and the area-based, like you represent a specific area. Mm-hmm. Those are land-based. Mm-hmm. The at-large positions were designed to help level out the vote, level out the voice. So they are per vote, not per acre.
Okay. So, and that's because some people don't like that the more land you have, the more votes you have, right? Because they feel like that's not fair.
Sure. Yep.
So so it's kind of like House of Representatives and Senate, right?
Yeah.
One is per this and this other one is just a flat.
Correct.
Whatever. So if you have, for the ones that are land-based, if you have every acre is a vote.
Yes.
So like we live on 3 acres, so that's 3 votes.
So it would count as the equivalent of a weighted 3 vote, yeah.
Okay. And then, but some people have like half an acre and they're not out of luck. They do get half a vote. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then anyone who's an SRP customer, they get 1 vote for you.
Not true.
No. Okay.
Close.
So how does that work?
Close.
Okay.
So here's where we stepped over the line is anyone that's an SRP customer.
Okay.
And that's not the case. So quick history, the SRP board was developed out of the land that was put up as collateral to build Roosevelt Dam. Mm-hmm. That land has been exceeded in users from its original form. So the land that was originally put up as collateral is what's being represented. But SRP users expand outside of that geographic space. So you may very well be a user and not be in the voter district. We'd love to be able to change that, and that's one of the things that we'll work on. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's still based on that original land. Okay,
so is there like a map? Like, how do you know if you're that person or not?
Yeah, that's great. So there is, if you go to the SRP website, you could get it. If you go to elected leadership for SRP.com, you'll get it there. And there are very specifics that go along with it because there are little pockets that aren't included in certain votes. And so it gets a little quirky for some people. But the further east you go in Mesa, you start to get onto the outside. So it goes kind of from the middle of Mesa west through Phoenix, Tempe, Chandler. Mm-hmm. And so you pick up that land area, and we'd love to say that every SRP user would be a voter, but that's just not the reality.
So how far west does it go? Does it go to like Tolleson, Glendale?
No.
Or no, it just stops in Phoenix?
Yeah, it gets to the other side of Phoenix. We'd have to look at the map to get
to see
the
like
specific
what the boundary,
line draws.
But it definitely isn't going that far west then.
No,
okay.
Doesn't go out to Tolleson.
Okay, just checking. And then south to like Ahwatukee?
So it'll cover a little bit down to the South 202, and then there are some areas that go a little bit further down.
Mm-hmm. And then north?
Mm-hmm. North up into Phoenix, or up into Mesa, and then over into the Phoenix area.
Okay, that is
it's pretty significant geographic area. It's not nothing, but it does not cover every user, and so I don't want to misrepresent. Mm-hmm. Some of the people that are users won't be able to register and vote. And many of the people that are actually in the voter area have no idea. I didn't register for my first ballot until 5 or 6 years ago. And most people that I run into that are actually should be voters, they just don't know.
Does SRP like not send a letter with your bill like, hey, there's an election coming up? Because I feel like they do.
I think they do, and most people throw it away. I mean, how much?
I mean, there's a lot of trash in your bills all the time.
How much of your mail actually makes it into the house and doesn't just get dropped in the recycle bin before you get there?
Right.
I mean, nowadays, most people or a lot of people have their stuff set up on auto pay, and they don't open it. They've either checked it online and know how much it is, or it's already taken care of. So
that's true.
Yes, that does come, but it's incumbent on all of us. And I would tell you, an informed electorate is the difference between representative and not representative. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we go out and register to vote, or at least find out if we're in the area to be able to vote.
I feel like I'm pretty involved in politics, and other than like with the last 2 cycles, like I never really heard of anything before. Now I am in South Phoenix, and that's very close to Levine.
Mm-hmm.
And so like at like Levine events, I would see always, Steve with all his SRP stuff out there in his booth and stuff like that. So I knew about it. And also, we have animals and stuff so we do flood irrigation.
Yep.
So a little bit more probably than your average person I knew. But even with that, I have seen in the last 2 cycles, really a much more of like a get out the vote effort to let people know, hey, one, we had literature to hand out for the first time. Like I don't know that if they just did it themselves and they didn't like reach out to have like conservative groups helping before, and they just barely started that. But we did have, I dropped literature myself to all the different, houses to let them know there's an election coming up and we don't want Sierra Club running the place.
Well, I think that's really what it boils down to. For the last X amount of time, the Sierra Club and the Jane Fonda PAC and all these groups that they're not even really from Arizona are coming in to influence how these elections work and who is being elected. So it wasn't because all the oxygen was being consumed by primaries and general election votes, and this is not part of that. Don't be fooled. It's not part of your primary ballot. It's not part of your general election ballot. It's a ballot all on its own. But over the last couple of cycles, it's become more apparent that there is an outside influence coming in to try to shape the way Arizona represents itself and functions in its power and how power is managed here in Arizona. And, my feeling on this is really quite simple. Progress and growth are going to happen. We have built an economy that includes data centers, and it includes high power draw industry, and that's being pushed into Arizona. If we sit with our hands under our behinds and don't make plans for what the future demand of energy in Arizona is going to look like, there is no other option except to end up with potentially rolling brownouts, blackouts, super high bills. So the folks that you elect to represent you in how power is managed into the future matter. And if their goal is to make sure there is no progress because for whatever reason we think the development is bad and we don't want anything happening, those folks have basically stuck their head in their sand, in my opinion, and are not paying attention to how this is happening and what is going to happen. It doesn't mean that green energy is necessarily bad. Solar and wind have a place, but baseload energy and what it's going to take to manage what we not only use for baseload, but what we need to have for baseload takes planning. It takes forethought. And that's what our side, and I don't mean to divide it on sides, but that's what the people that I'm working with are working towards, and making sure that we have a plan to keep the rates low and the lights on in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. I think, like you said, it's not part of the primary. So
right.
It's totally a different beast. And one thing that I noticed when I was canvassing, and I was canvassing for like regular politicians as well, and I, 2 birds, 1 stone, handing out stuff.
Absolutely.
And I had people say, well, but where do I go to vote?
Yeah.
And I was like, the only place that I knew was like by the Phoenix Zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're a little spoiled with our regular elections where you can just drop wherever you want, it's because it's voting center based now, so you can go anywhere.
Right.
Whereas the SRP is not like that.
No, it's not. The majority of it's going to be returned by mail. And then there is the drop centers at SRP office and some other places. But the majority of what will happen is people will fill them in and then mail them back.
Is it like
which is no different actually
ballot?
than it's no different than what we're actually asking for, is for everybody to go out and register, or at least verify that they are either qualify in their area or are registered to get their ballot. And it's a permanent ballot. So once you ask for it, it's now
They'll
coming
send it
to you. It's coming to
so
you
if
by
you
mail.
registered for the last cycle, you'll get another one.
You should, yep.
Okay. And it's it doesn't need a stamp.
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I just wanted to ask just to be sure. Like you could just pop it in the mail when you're done.
I believe so.
Okay. We'll check on that.
I would hate to have that one wrong, but I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know we've done it in the past, and I don't remember ever sticking anything on it. But I just feel like, we want to make it as easy for people to get their votes in. So
I have this philosophy about representation, and it is really simple. The more of us that vote, it doesn't really matter the side. The more of us that vote, the more representative we will be of our society. And so I advocate for voter participation because I think it matters. And in that vein, as you're saying, I think the easier that we make it, the more people we're going to have show up. And that matters.
Right. Because like you said, if you want to get an accurate snapshot of what people want, then you need as many people as possible participating the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. Well, and look, we have a responsibility to educate ourselves and be prepared for that election. But yeah, the more people that participate in any election, but specifically this one, the better result I think we're going to have.
So how did you decide that you want to be involved in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, going through the last couple of election cycles, my business background, the things that I've worked on and that I've seen, this felt like the right move for me. It isn't going to Washington, D.C. I really don't want my kids to grow up there. It is about having a real impact on the everyday lives of the people here in Arizona, specifically the SRP voters. Every one of us has looked at our bill over the last year and gone, wow. And we need people that feel that same thing when they look at their bill. And I'm just like everybody else. I want to make sure that we have proper planning, business forethought that goes into it so that we can, again, ensure that the light's on and the rates are low.
I know that because I mentioned, but last cycle I talked to someone who I would say is from like the other side, and they were telling me like, well, if we could just like get rid of flood irrigation, and I was like, what? Like, but how are we supposed to?
For what point?
Yeah, like so I do know that some of them have ideas that are just that's not beneficial.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and we have 3 acres. We're not like a huge farm that needs all this, but we couldn't do it without flood irrigation. You know what I mean? 3 acres, it would just be just dirt.
And again, that's what happens when you have folks from outside of Arizona coming in to try to tell people in Arizona how they should live their lives and what it is that requires sustainability in Arizona. A lot of these folks that are coming in to try to influence our elections and tell us how to live our lives, they don't know. They've lived a completely different way, and they're trying to apply what they've learned about their areas to the desert. Right. And it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it ends up with us being in a far worse position than we are today.
And we don't want that at all.
No.
I mean, like you, I have young kids,
Absolutely.
And I'm looking, I love Arizona. I want them to grow up here and make this their home. But like, is that, so we want to make that feasible for our
and
children.
It is, we've done a lot of work. SRP in the past has done a lot of work to make sure that we have planning and solutions for water storage going into the future, but it's not indefinite. It doesn't last forever. If we don't continue to plan for it, you're right, that will be a problem. And I've traveled the world. I grew up in the Midwest. I've opened restaurants on the East Coast and Midwest. I've been all over the world as a Marine. I settled in Arizona specifically because I love it here. I love what we have here. It's one of the most secure areas we have from a climate and disaster area. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have a lot of the other stuff that happens. It's a little hot. That might be an exaggeration. It's really hot for a couple of months. But
it's starting to get great now, though, isn't it?
But I want my kids to be able to have that into the future if they choose to stay here. And I think that comes with responsible management of our resources moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think the same. I love Arizona, and I tell the kids that too. Like, we don't have, not that we couldn't, but we don't have earthquakes. We don't have tornadoes. Right. We don't have, like in Hawaii, they had the earthquake and they were afraid of like a tidal flood or something like that, where obviously we don't have the water issues like that. This is a great, wonderful place. It does have its own hiccups and things that we need to. And one of them is being a desert, we need to plan for our water. And so
we have to plan for our water, and we also have to plan for our power, because it's not as easy here. And that means making sure that we don't drop below the dead zone on our dams. It means that we work on natural gas as a bridge to nuclear power, because that's baseload energy that we need. It means that during flex power times that we can use solar and wind, because they are important and they do matter. They're just not reliable enough to build a baseload power supply. And so we have to have all of it. It doesn't mean that we pay for all of it, that the users have to fund other people that want solar because they get it for free. That's not it at all. It's thinking about all the different power options that we have and what's the most effective and cost efficient for the people in Arizona. And I think it's using natural gas to bridge to solar power, and it's supplementing during peak load. And frankly, we've hit peak load records this summer multiple times. And if we don't plan for it, it's going to be a real problem.
Because I've never experienced it, but I've seen on social media in California when they're like, we can't, or they can't use any water, and it's just, I can't even imagine like trying to function like that.
Or even worse, examples like Texas during the winter a few years back, or France this past year, when you have a cascading power failure because the grid wasn't built to handle what was being called upon, and that demand overtaxed certain little pieces. And it's sort of like the straw that broke a camel's back, right? So that one little seemingly not massively important piece pops, and then it just cascades through the whole thing. And next thing you know, your power grid is done, and it's 125 outside, and you have all your food going bad, people struggling to survive because that's too hot.
Right.
And so we have to plan for that. And you see example after example after example of why. What we need is people that understand that and are going to plan for the future. And that's Chris and Barry and myself.
And is there only one at-large position?
There are two at-large positions.
But you're the only one running for it?
Currently, and I believe this is a changing landscape, but currently, I am the one running for the 14 at-large seat. I believe it's 11 that's open, and I believe they have a candidate. I'm just not sure that they finalized the position yet.
Okay. Well, let us know, because
Absolutely.
We'd love to have him. Like I said, that was the last episode. I mentioned that we are going to have Chris on in the future. Yeah. We're excited about that. And we have had Barry on already. So we definitely want, this is a newer thing that people in politics are really sort of forcefully becoming aware of, instead of gradually, it was like, bam, everyone knows about it now. So we definitely want to let people know about their options, especially because just like any kind of like nonpartisan race where there's not a letter to let you know this person's conservative, this person's Sierra Club, you know what I mean? So we definitely need to educate our voters, and that's why you go to electedleadership4srp.com. And do you guys take donations?
I don't believe that is set up right now, but we will.
Okay.
In the near future, it's going to take some money for us to get across the board.
Okay.
Right now, the major focus, the major initiative is to push to register the broader electorate.
Okay.
We need people to be aware that this election is even coming up.
Okay.
And I think what we've seen in society over the last 6 months to 10 years, more and more people are becoming aware that representation matters, and they're participating, which is, it's unfortunate and really tragic the way some of the things have happened, but it's great where we're going, that more and more people want to be involved, and more people are aware that they have to participate.
Yes, you have to get involved. There's, at this point, the children's future depends on it. So you got to get involved, and you got to let guys like Kelly here to SRP, and they will help do the work for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So thanks for joining us, Kelly, and we will have you guys on again when we can. And thanks for joining us for some chit chat and chips and salsa.
Thank you.
Bye.